There's a USO place down there somewhere. As we'd go there, and we would go to bars, and we wound up traveling New York. I can remember when, but I've been there so long that after a while I knew my way on all the subways, because if you knew how to do it, you could go any place in New York for a nickel. Because as long as you knew where to transfer, you could always keep going. You didn't leave the gate. You could keep going. And one of the fellows asked me how I knew all those places. I said, I don't know, but I spent a lot of time in New York. And I will say this, we knew where we were going, and all the fellas, and me included, we knew why not have a good time, because we know we were up against it, and we knew we were going to Europe in a combat.
You were already, you were probably a rifleman at this point. Is what
Yeah, we're all riflemen.
You're all riflemen.
Yeah, we're all riflemen.
So you know that you're going to go into...
Well, I did forget to tell you, we also learned, we also trained in the mortars too. They showed us how to fire mortars, because they don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
We fired machine guns, we fired mortars in our training.
Yeah.
So we fired everything, and so that because we don't know what job we're going to get.
Now, I know we're going to talk about this later, about the Browning automatic rifle.
Yeah.
Did you learn to fire a BAR in training too?
Oh yeah, I fired a BAR also. Yeah.
And they're a heavier weapon, I understand.
It's a heavier weapon. It's automatic, and instead of having an 8-round clip like the M1 has, they have a 20-round clip. It's bigger, and it's a rapid fire gun, and it's automatic. It's fully automatic. If you hold the trigger down, you can fire all 20 shots. Whereas an M1, you have to keep pulling the trigger too. It's only semi-automatic. And yeah, we learned all the weapons. Yeah.
They're supposedly a pretty strong weapon, a pretty powerful weapon.
Yeah, it was the best weapon for the rifle platoons, and because the machine gun was handled by what they called the heavy weapons platoon. We had a heavy weapon platoon that had machine guns, and they also had mortars, and that was generally, I guess it was, it's the 4th platoon was the heavy weapon platoon. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd was strictly rifle. All we had was three Browning automatics, and the rest of them had M1s.
Well, that's so you're now back in your New York, and you're waiting now at Camp Shanks. What are your quarters like? What are you staying in?
The quarters there were similar. It was a camp that I'm sure was built from scratch, for an embarkation part, and it wasn't bad being in camp. Both in Baltimore and up at Camp Shanks, they had this USO would come, bands would come, and there was entertainment there, and you could get passes, and the food was okay. And the one thing the Army did is somehow or other, you get used to the Army food, and you'll eat it, and it's if you're hungry and you work hard, you eat it, and it's a different type of food than you have at home, but we were well fed and well taken care of. Yeah.
What happened next? Tell me about leaving New York. Where did you get orders for?
Well, on January 17th, we embarked from New York, and we loaded on the Ile-de-France. At that time, Ile-de-France was the 3rd largest ship in the world. The 2 Queens were the largest, and the Ile-de-France was next. It was a luxurious liner, but of course what they do is they take all the luxury stuff off, and in the dining rooms and whatever have you, or different places, they put up bunk beds in all the rooms, so that you don't get a man per room, but you have multiple people in all the compartments. And so we sailed across, and on January 17th, we hit, as we went up, we hit a northeaster, and we had thousands and thousands of 6 GIs. Now I was always a good sailor, but I could not stay down below deck, so I spent a lot of time on deck, and the storm was so great that the waves were going right over the bow of their ship. And this is an enormous ship, and the only way I could keep from being ill was just coming up on deck and spending a lot of time on deck.
And that's what I did.
It took us I think it took us 7 days to get across, and we zigzagged by ourselves,
Yep.
and we wound up in Scotland. And from Scotland, it was probably Greenock, and from there we went by train. At least I went by train with my part of the group. I think we probably had an assignments there where some went to Penzance and some probably went to Plymouth, some went to other places, but my group went to Penzance, and we were assigned to the 175th Infantry Regiment.
So you had, up till that point, you didn't know where you were going to be assigned, right?
No, we did not know so that when we had no idea, and when we got to Penzance, we spent a couple of days in Penzance, I remember, and then I was assigned to C Company of the 175th at St Ives, and that's where we began our training for D-Day.
Now, tell me about what you know about C Company. They're already there.
Yeah. Well, what happened was C Company and the 29th Division had been over there, I believe, since sometime in 42. I don't know, I think the fall of 42 or something. So they'd been there a while, because I'm not getting over there till 44. And so they were well established, and they were on their assignment was to guard the southern coast of England. And the 175th had the western portion, and the other two regiments had the center and the other place. So that was their assignment, and they had been there, living there, and in St Ives. The C Company was in St Ives. The 3 platoons were in a York hotel, and it was sort of like a small summer hotel. You can shut that.
Yeah.
And it was a small summer hotel, and there wasn't enough room for all the platoons, so one platoon had to stay in another small hotel with another company down the street, and they had to come up. But they ate with us, and they would come up the street, and we would join us at the York. And there we had had rooms in there, and again, each room we had probably 4, depending on the size of 4 men in each room, and bigger ones might have had more. And we had a dining room, we had our cook, and we ate there, and we started all our training from this hotel that was right on the street in St Ives, up on top of the bluff.
Did you talk with the other guys about why you were assigned? Why you wind up with the 29th?
Yeah, well, we found out as we got there why we wound up there, because we were joining a company that already had a lot of men, but because when they found out they were going to do D-Day, the 29th Division had medical exams for all the members in there, and the members who did not pass the physicals or were considered unfit or one reason or another were sent out of the 29th, and we were the replacements of those people who left the companies.
The training. What's happening at this point in St Ives?
Well, actually, when I got there, they were in the middle of a sort of a night exercise where they were sleeping in the day, and we were doing exercise at night. And so we did that, and when we finished that, I didn't get the full month, but we did that for a month, and then we did the same kind of training as we had in basic training. It was more a squad or platoon operator where we would go out at night or we'd go out in the day and have to simulate capturing a town or taking a hedgerow or marching up and down the roads, and a lot of them, it was a hilly country. A lot of times it was damp, raining, but we just trained there every day till it was time to go.
Tell me about getting to know the 29 Division. Did you have any feeling about your own training compared to what it was like when you met up with these guys? Did they impress you more? Did you feel that you had already?
Well, what we did is we considered these guys old timers and experienced men, and we tried to learn as much as we could from them, even though we had good training. But these fellas had actually a couple of years more training than we did, and they knew more about what was going on. But the other thing that we found out is that they were able to give us hints, and all the sergeants had been in the service for 2 and 3 years before we got there, maybe some even longer if they were with the National Guard before, and so that we blended in. I think there was a little sort of a separation because they were the old guys and we were the new guys, and you just tend to hang out more with the young guys because we were the young ones and they were more the older guys.
Do you remember about how many of you came in as those replacements in January of '44?
No, I don't know, but I know that what would happen in our squad had about 3 new men, so that it looked like they replaced probably 1/4 of the men or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So that's how many men were ushered out.
Mm-hmm. And so your training there up until the months leading up to D-Day, was it mostly in St Ives that you were quartered?
Well, we were quartered in St Ives, and we would do exercises in the different towns. I can remember names like Hale, and we would march around to different places, into the farms and fields and whatnot. And every so often, we'd go in on trucks if it was a company exercise, or if it was like at a firing range, they would truck us there because that was one firing range for the whole battalion, whatever was stationed in that area. Mm-hmm. But we didn't get much trucking. We did mostly was marching or running or whatever we had to do. I can even remember one time we had to cover a mile in so many minutes, and I can remember it very clearly. And whatever it was, we missed by a few seconds, and the captain gave us an hour break, and then we had to do it again, where we ran and walked and ran and walked and ran and walked, and whatever it was, we made it the second time.
Yeah.
And this is with full gear. We had to, so it was a pretty heavy training, and we sometimes would go down to the beach, which was a march down a steep hill, do calisthenics and back up the hill. That alone was enough just to climb up that hill, but that's what we would do.
You're keeping you sharp.
Yeah.
And you said did you stay actually in a hotel while you were stationed there?
Yeah, it was like an old hotel. It was an old hotel then, where the English would come from London and the big cities, because there was a nice beach down at down the hill from where we stayed. We were up high on a bluff, and there was a town, and it was sort of an artist town, and there was a jetty there, and I can remember seeing there were fishing boats that were stationed there, and there was a little area where you had bars and restaurants and stuff along the beach, so it was sort of a resort area for the English people.
That's good. There's a resort. Now, how many guys in a room, by the way, in the hotel?
I believe in my room we had 4.
4.
Yeah, we had double bunks, and
yeah, keeping you there.
Yeah.
And then every day was a busy day, moving you along.
We had time off on the weekends, and some nights we were allowed many nights out, so that we would go down. They had dances, they had movies once in a while, and we were allowed down so we could have something different to eat, and with the dances. I think there was a USO there, so we did get some time off, yes.
Well, that's good. I'm going to hold this off now as the end of part 1, and we'll come back and start part 2.
Okay.